We think they're going to go over to Ireland and really represent Point Park in a positive way. That's really going to be valuable to them when they return to the United States and look for a job in teaching, that is going to separate them from other candidates.
Coming up on Point News, students in the new School of Education are getting a chance to fine-tune their skills a little farther from home than usual.
Last Thursday marked the 1 year since the tragic shooting at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School. Find out how Point Park did its part in remembrance of the tragedy.
And changes are coming to the Point Cafe and Cafeteria. Find out what Culinary Arts' newest general manager had to say. Point News starts now.
Live from the Point Park University Broadcast Center in downtown Pittsburgh, this is Point News.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Point News. I'm Megan Masiosi.
And I'm Alex Lenigan.
Point Park has unveiled a new director of Title IX and Diversity. Vanessa Love joins the Point Park University after previously working for Howard University under a similar position. The post had been held in an interim capacity by Lisa Stefanko, the current Vice President of Human Resources.
Love was unavailable to comment, but Stefanko says Love is committed to fostering a culture of inclusion for all university members. Point Park's 2018 crime report confirms 0 rape, statutory rape, or fondling cases were reported on any campus property by police. Last week, Point Park held an event in remembrance of the Parkland, Florida shooting that happened in 2018. I was there to catch up with the students in charge of the event. On the 1-year anniversary of the tragedy at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, Point Park was just one of many schools around the country to present a staged reading of the play Church and State, a dramatic comedy that addresses gun violence and religion in America. Playwright Jason Odell Williams began working on Church and State shortly after the shooting at Virginia Tech in 2007. As the years went on, more tragedies like Aurora, Tucson, and Newton drove Williams to complete the play 6 years later in 2013.
The New York Rep Company reached out to us nationwide. We've got places like UCLA also putting on this. This is a show called Church and State by Jason Odell Williams. It is a play about a campaign where the senator is brought with a question of faith and things like gun laws after his own town is affected by a high school shooting.
New York Rep produces new plays and musicals, hoping they will inspire social change by telling stories that expose the best and worst in humanity today. Point Park was just one of a number of schools chosen to produce the reading, partly because of the recent act of senseless gun violence at the Tree of Life Synagogue in October.
Pittsburgh has recently been affected by this tragedy, so when New York reached out to us about doing a staged reading of the show, we were like, absolutely, this is a conversation that Point Park can contribute to and that we need to discuss in our community.
Church and State offers both a liberal and a conservative look at gun violence and religion, hoping that eventually people on both sides of the aisle can come together to have a common ground discussion on the issue.
So yeah, it makes you question and think things in a different way and about how, we can meet in the middle and we can make change.
Reporting from the 3rd floor ballroom in Lawrence Hall, I'm Alex Lenigan for Point News.
The United Student Government, as of Monday has approved the distribution of disability flyers around campus elevators. The flyers are to serve as a reminder that students with invisible disabilities might take the elevator just one floor up. According to a member of the Student Concerns Committee, Senator Dennis McDormand, quote, "The purpose of the flyers is to create awareness for students to have an open mind and be accommodating to other students using the elevators one floor up, as they may have invisible disabilities," end quote.
Mayor Peduto's administration has submitted a request for a proposal that would require companies to respond to accidents inside of the city limits no more than 25 minutes. Among other things, Tim McNulty, the mayor's communications director, says the administration is trying to take a generally confusing situation for drivers and make it easier by regulating who is towing vehicles from accidents, how fast they will respond, and where vehicles can be taken. Companies have until March 8th to respond to this request. The full request for proposal can be found on the City of Pittsburgh's website.
Oh, so the weather today has been, pretty warm. We have some spring-like temperatures out there. Today's high is actually going to be about 44 degrees with a low of 28 tonight, so make sure you grab your jacket. And there's a 10% chance precipitation, so not too bad since we had some snow yesterday. But looking forward to your weekend forecast, Starting tomorrow, it's going to be a nice high of 42 degrees, maybe a little light jacket, and not too bad at night, right at 32, low precipitation as well. But Saturday, not looking so good. It starts off at 47, which is nice, some spring-like temperatures, but there is a 60% chance of rain, so definitely grab your umbrella. And to close out the weekend on Sunday, we'll have a nice high of 55, a low of 26, so Monday morning could be a little bit cold, but overall, a pretty nice weekend.
After the break, how some of Point Park School of Education seniors are fulfilling their capstone requirements across the pond.
And later, Point Park's food provider, Culinary Art, has named a new general manager. What changes students should expect to see from the new GM. We'll be right back.
All right, we're ready.
Oh, no. You are right here.
Is the win really necessary, guys? We need the win. Okay.
You go take awful. You. That's awful.
Okay, I need someone to make me laugh.
Where's Wyatt? Wyatt's always late, duh.
I'm here. Jealous?
Get out of my way. Stop.
Cool. Okay. And now we're smiling. There's a lot of noise going on. A lot of noise.
3, 2, 1.
Here at the Pioneer sideline.
We covered the real sports.
Another season, the Penguins are just getting started with the regular season this week. Pioneer Sideline!
The show that starts your Friday mornings has returned with both familiar and new faces. Daybreak host Taylor Fife and Delaney Bomas are bringing you the latest updates in Pittsburgh and Point Park news. We also have a variety of talent on our free segments. Whether it be singing, dancing, or indeed egg smashing. Start your mornings with us at Daybreak on UView at UView Television.
Welcome back. Point Park School of Education is still less than a year old, but is already giving opportunities for its students to expand their skills away from home. Point News reporter Nicole Ficino has the story.
Last year, Point Park University established their School of Education. This year, their School of Education is offering something new to students, the opportunity for them to student teach abroad. Meet Madison Gray, a senior early education and special education dual major at Point Park. She has been student teaching in this life skills classroom at South Fayette Elementary School since January. The end of February, she is flying to Ireland to finish her student teaching for the rest of the semester.
Learning like their style and their system and like bringing it back here. I couldn't incorporate that into my classroom.
There are 6 other student teachers from Point Park that will be leaving for Ireland at the end of February as well, out of the 22 student teachers from Point Park this semester total.
It would be awesome just to like be somewhere different and adapt to their changes.
These students told me that they are excited for this opportunity so that they can take what they learned from abroad and bring it back to the United States for them to implement into their classroom someday. Jenny Chambers is an assistant professor of education at Point Park and is the coordinator for this student teaching trip.
It has been a long process of making sure that we have figured out everything to make this a successful experience.
She said that any education major in their student teaching semester at Point Park could apply to be in the program, but they had to be accepted. So why Ireland?
Well, we wanted an English-speaking country and one that was fairly easy to get to. Student teaching is a difficult semester. It's the capstone experience of our program, and so we wanted to make sure that we gave them an opportunity to go abroad, but then not feel like they were too far away from home.
Call it the luck of the Irish, but Ginny says that she lucked out with a great first group of students to pioneer on this trip.
We think they're going to go over to Ireland and really represent Point Park in a positive way. We think that it's really going to be valuable to them when they return to the United States and look for a job in teaching that is going to separate them from other candidates for similar positions.
Now, these students will be returning back to Point Park in late April, just in time for graduation. I'm Nicole Fascino in Academic Hall for Point News.
According to a city press release on February 12th, the city is teaming up with Bromberg & Associates, a leading language provider, to roll out Pittsburgh's Language Access Plan. The plan will cater to Pittsburghers who have disabilities, are learning English, or are limited in the English language. The press release states that over the next 4 to 6 months, these consultants will facilitate task force meetings to address what needs to be done. Communications analyst Kavia Clark details that the consultants will be working with representatives from each city department and the Communication and Language Access Task Force to improve translation for all Pittsburgh citizens.
If you walked past Point Cafe on February 20th, you might have noticed students filling out surveys. These surveys were developed by Point Park's Department of Community Engagement and asked students how they are engaging in the community. The data will be used in the university's application for the Carnegie Classification, which recognizes universities that have a strong sense of community engagement. According to Chair Heather Starr-Fiedler, this recognition could increase the university's chances to receive grant money to complete more service projects, allowing the department to expand.
Coming up on Point News. Starting next school year, students at Point Park will have a new option when it comes to paying for their education.
And later, the Pittsburgh Steelers are surrounded in controversy today, but a recent anniversary has the Steelers fans remembering golden age of Steelers football. We'll be right back.
What's one word to describe CAB?
Welcoming.
Community.
Creative.
Experiences.
Family.
Openness. Pineapple.
The Campus Activities Board is a student-run organization that consists of 7 different committees. Each focuses on event planning, marketing, and administrative activities. Join us in organizing the juiciest events on campus, from late-night bingo to festive dances to our team bonding meetings. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Point Park Cap, or like us on Facebook at Campus Activities Board at Point Park University.
Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. I'm Josh Troop alongside Jess Paterchak.
Defending his decision to kick out 15 Cuban diplomats from the United States.
Thanks, Allison. Fitness on Demand has returned to Point Park.
Residents fear that Mount Agung will have a repeat of 1963's eruption.
2-star NFL quarterbacks made the headlines this week after wrapping up.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. That's your news tonight. For Nick Tomarello, I'm Alex Grubbs. Have a great night.
Welcome back. According to Pennsylvania homepage, the Pennsylvania Higher Education Assistance Agency is launching the Pennsylvania Forward Student Loan Program, starting with the 2019-2020 school year. According to Point Park Director of Financial Aid, George Santucci, this loan is not replacing any current private loans. It is another loan option for students and parents to choose from in the private loan program. The Pennsylvania homepage included benefits for this new loan, such as, quote, no orientation or late fees, a 0.25% interest rate reduction for automatic debt enrollment, and a 0.5% interest rate reduction for graduating on time, end quote.
Point Park's food service could be in for some changes as a culinary art has named a new general manager. Point News reporter Jevin Flugel has the story.
There's a new person in charge of culinary art. That could mean a lot of big difference and changes for culinary art.
The new culinary art general manager is Katie Jacob. Terry Chavez gives us some idea about what to expect from Katie and what Point Park could look forward to, such as future events and food options.
She's great with menus. She has always had an eye for food, and I think you'll start to see some of those. If you're familiar with the all-day station upstairs, I think you'll start to see that go a little more with a global flair as we try to go a little more vegan and vegetarian. So I think that's going to require some really more, fresh. If you go into our freezers at any time, you'll see that there's not a lot of things frozen in there. The chicken fingers and french fries, you know, you'll find, frozen corn and things like that, ice cream, but really we don't have a lot of frozen food here.
Katie talks to us about the many different options students will see over the next semester. She talks about how she wants students to feel that culinary art is listening to them. The new GM has a lot of different popular ideas in store for the fall semester.
I definitely think there are a lot of different concepts and new trendy things that we could bring here on different spots. So the flatbread area, we're trying to see of how to make it better. It's kind of a dead zone and like what we might be able to see, how to bring more traffic to there, what the students are looking for. We're thinking of maybe like desserts or something like that, because you don't really have many desserts down in the Point Cafe. So we're trying to see of what different concepts that students might see. At CMU, we did milkshakes and stuff like that. So I'm trying to see if there's anything that we can accommodate there with keeping the students happy. We also have an idea, maybe in the Point Cafe, since we got rid of the milkshakes and stuff like that, like the For Real and the Hershey ones. There is this other frozen yogurt concept that we're trying to see if it can bring in here. It's in the works. Hopefully it'll be here this fall. We don't know for sure. We're still trying to figure out the kinks.
Katie has been around the business for quite some time. As time goes on in culinary art, we'll see some different changes and different food choices. I'm Jevin Fligo reporting for Point News in downtown Pittsburgh.
The Point Park Comedy Club hosted their first ever Hoopla basketball game. The game was held in the Student Center and featured students, staff, and entertainment from Pioneer dancers. According to Comedy Club President Chris Copen, the student-staff matchup was an idea that simply sounded fun.
What if we organized a student-staff game? There was a student-staff game in my high school, and it was always a really big deal. So we were like, hey, this would be kind of fun, maybe do it as a fundraiser. And then I approached Team Taylor about it, and he was all in on the idea.
According to Point Park Athletic Director John Ashalou, the game was a great way for students to connect with their professors outside of the classroom.
I think it's good just to have the student body see the staff members at another venue, not in the classroom or behind the office desk, and just to see that, we're human just like them, and we like to have fun and play basketball and kind of relive our old memories and we were their age. So I think it was good.
Point Park's Comedy Club is bringing more laughs, hosting their second annual Point Blank live show March 29th through the 21st.
After the break, the search for a big contract is over for one of baseball's top free agents. Find out who this superstar infielder will be playing for come opening day.
And still to come, the Pittsburgh Pirates kick off their spring training season this Saturday. But manager Clint Hurdle already has a plan set for opening day. We'll be right back.
The United Student Government at Point Park University, working since the 1970s to solve the issues that matter to you. What concerns do you have about the university? Student life, safety, food service? Send us an email to studentconcerns@pointpark.edu or stop by our office on the 7th floor of the Student Center. You can also attend our weekly open meetings on Mondays at 3:15. Follow us on social media at USG_PPU for more. The United Student Government, by the students, for the students.
The Point Park Sports Network, bringing you live coverage of Pioneer Athletics on Stretch Internet, the home of the River States Conference and the NAIA. Subscribe today for complete access to the Point Park volleyball, baseball, basketball, and soccer teams. Watch live and on-demand broadcasts, and don't miss a minute of Point Park Athletics. Head to pointparksports.com/live for broadcast listings. The Point Park Sports Network, your streaming home for Point Park Athletics.
3, 2, 1.
Please visit our website. Please, it's a nice website. Please visit our website. Please.
If you have ever watched television, whether accidentally or on purpose, YouView is for you.
Welcome back. Pittsburgh football may be surrounded in drama today, but there is hope in remembering the history of how the game was changed forever. According to Steelers.com, Chuck Noll, the head coach that went on to win 4 Super Bowls for the Steelers, was hired 50 years ago on January 27, 1969. The University of Pittsburgh stated in a press release that, quote, nearly 4 decades before he was hired, the Steelers were the least successful team, never winning a division title. end quote. That was changed after Newell was hired, recruiting what would be called by fans and opponents as the Steel Curtain. The press release continues that Newell earned the nickname the Emperor for the way that he overcame difficulty on and off the field. The Pittsburgh Pirates have named their opening day starters. Jamison Tyone and Chris Archer will take the mound for the first away and home series openings for the Pirates. Tyone will lead off the season, making his first opening day start in Cincinnati, and Archer will make his 2019 debut for the Pirates' first game of the season at PNC Park on April 1st.
One of Major League Baseball's biggest free agents finally found a home. Shortstop Manny Machado signed a 10-year, $300 million contract with the San Diego Padres. The $300 million deal is the largest in American sports history, but with Bryce Harper still available, that record could be broken before the start of the season.
That's all for this week's Point News. Thank you for watching.
Point News will be back next Thursday at 2 p.m. Have a great week, Pioneers.